Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Lou Stefano for the Salty Rant live stream. So, the title is Schemers, Scammers, and Scumbags. Now, you're like, oh no, Lou, what are you talking about? You're not talking about the whole cop watching community, are you? No, not at all. Schemers, scammers, and scumbags. I'm talking about predatory bill collection agencies that are calling people, threatening them with lawsuit, garnishment of wages, 1099 tax forms, and all kinds of other nonsense to get you, the consumer, away from your hard-earned money. It's crazy. I'm not too proud to admit that I have filed bankruptcy twice in my life. Once when I was like 28, and then once when I was about, 46, 47. The problem with filing bankruptcy is now they make you go through a lot of hurdles. Like they have a pre-bankruptcy class that you got to go to, and you got to pay extra funds for all that. So financing my bankruptcy, when it would have been like $1,500, is now like $2,500. It's expensive, and depending on what you want to keep. Well, I didn't have any assets to declare other than one car that was still being paid for at the time. And basically, everybody gets in trouble with money at some point in their lives. Everybody. I don't care if you have a 900 FICO score, perfect credit. You will eventually, at least one time in your life, have some kind of financial difficulty. It's just the way the world works. Credit is good, but it's also bad. Credit cards are the worst things you can get in trouble with. Been there, done that. So getting to my story, I had started the Salty Rant on YouTube a long time ago, a few years back now, because I had problems with credit reporting agencies calling me up on the phone, asking me, hey, can I speak to so-and-so? Are you so-and-so? Yeah, hey, just so you know, we're with such and such agency. We need to recover a debt that you haven't paid. Well, I didn't know the law as far as myself being a consumer. I had one such company called Weinberg Litigation call me up on the phone and threaten to tell me that they're a lawyer's office mediating the debt, when in fact they were just a mediation company called Weinberg Mediation. But what they would do is they would call up and they would use legal speak, mumbo jumbo, and lawyer talk. And the reason they would do that is so they could scare me into committing to paying this loan back, which I couldn't pay. Hadn't paid on it for years. It was a loan that I had gotten, a personal loan, to better myself and to better myself at my job, but things didn't work out. I paid on the loan for a year and almost paid off the initial balance of the loan, not the interest. The company was so happy to have their initial balance paid that they just wrote it off and said, you know what, we don't care about the interest. We would like you to pay it, but we know you can't. You busted your ass for a year. You paid us most of, if not all, the money back on the initial loan, not the interest. So we're going to take that and we're going to go ahead and write it off as bad debt. They did that. I hadn't heard anything for months. Then, of course, when I wrecked my truck, tried to fit it between a parked SUV and a car at a stoplight, bad idea. Bounced off both of them, did thousands of dollars worth of damage. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. In fact, when the police came, they put me in the back of their truck to keep me from hyperventilating because they saw the skid marks, how I tried to steer my truck away from the two vehicles. And, basically it just locked up and went right through like a tank. So I was hyperventilating in the back and everything. I wasn't feeling good. I had taken my meds, but I hadn't eaten. Blood sugar was dropping, plummeting. That was a really bad day. Getting back to the predatory credit agencies, I had to go buy a new car, or I had to buy something so I could get to work because my wife needed her car and I couldn't take her car. We both needed our own separate vehicles. So I went to a car lot. They required a down payment. So for 1 month, I was broke because the majority of my checks went toward the down payment of a car that I needed to buy, a car that I still currently am making payments on today. Probably the nicest car I've ever owned. I got to tell you, I've had some nice cars, but this is the nicest. My payment's not a lot of money, and I can actually afford it. So, basically, when I went and got this car, these predatory companies were looking at my credit, and they're like, oh, he bought a car. Oh, great. Well, since he bought a car, let's go after him for the credit, because he's not paying this loan. So I've had all kinds of stuff told to me. I had this one company tell me that if I don't pay the loan or even admit to paying the loan, that they're going to come after me. If they don't hear from me or my legal representative by the end of business, they're going to come after me. They're going to put a lawsuit on me in my local jurisdiction, district court or whatever, and they're going to get a judgment against me, and they're going to garnish my wages. Well, not knowing the law, I almost bought it. But a lady that I work with in the crematorium, she's just gone through some surgery, so now she's a man. Nice person. Get along with this person really cool. They told me, hey, Lou, this is not how the law reads. They can't do this to you. So they told me, look, they printed stuff off the computer at work. We went through it and like, oh, I said, okay, so they can't call me up and threaten me. She's like, no, they can't. So, all right. So I went out and did my own research, and there's a bureau out there called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's a federal bureau. And what they do is they investigate the claims of consumers from predatory companies going out there trying to collect past debts. What I found out in my information is California, Nevada, and Arizona, and about 4 other states, there's 7 in total. These predatory collection agencies, or these companies, if you will, they cannot litigate personal debt. They cannot threaten you in any way, shape, and form. They can't talk the crap that they do on the phone, but they still do because they feel that 99% of the population is sheep, and they usually get away with it. No. So I went ahead and contacted them, and I told them, and had many conversations with them. What I decided to do is I decided to make it a training tool for people out there that had bad credit like myself, who were rebuilding their credit, on what not to do with predatory credit reporting agencies. People calling you up saying, hey, you owe this much. We need you to make a payment, or, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. So that's why the Salty Rant came about on YouTube. So I would call these people on the phone, and I'd have this camera like this looking at me, and I'd have the phone on speaker, and I'd be talking to these people and tell them, hey, you know what? I'm asking for a copy of my signed contracts, my original signed contracts. I can give you 10 business days with which to provide these. If you can't, you must take my name off your list. You can't call me. You can't harass me. And you certainly can't put it on my credit. Well, they didn't like that. They had other options. They want to talk over you. They want to yell at you. They want to scream at you. They want to go ahead and throw personal insults at you. They never want to do what you want them to do. And I had this one company so pissed off at me that after embarrassing them multiple times on the phone and telling them, hey, you're being live streamed to YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook, they got pissed off and they would just hang the phone up on me. They don't want to talk to me. So the debt that I had got sold to another company. So another company called me, tried the same tactic. And they said, hey, we got a bunch of businessmen, blah, 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 JTM Capital Management. They bought your debt with bond money. They're going to take you to court, blah, 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 blah. All BS. Same thing. I said, hey, look, I need you in writing to send copies of my original signed contracts. If you can't, if you won't, you know what? I don't care. They didn't do it. No problem. It went to another company. I had this guy threaten me on the phone, talking mad crap one day. So I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to call you back. So I called him back. He wasn't in. Talked to another guy. Explained my position. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, this and that and everything else. I called back and I talked to the original guy. And I was talking to him on the phone about everything. He goes, oh, so you know the law. He goes, yeah, you're that YouTube comedian guy, huh? You're on the YouTube and you got me live streaming? Yeah? How's that working for you? I said, well, obviously better than you, sir. I said, because with all your threatening and your cajoling and your BS, you're not getting any money out of me. So I'd like to take care of this debt, but you won't be reasonable. So I want copies of my original signed contract. So the other company wrote it off as bad debt. You guys bought it for pennies on the dollar, but you want to go ahead and try to control me, scare me, whatever it is you're trying to do. It's not going to work. Well, sure enough, I told the guy, and he was laughing on the phone. He's like, oh, well, it's just not as dramatic. He goes, I like being an a-hole to people. I'm like, I know you do. And I said, just so you know, we're back on Facebook Live. I said, I'm telling everybody about you. I got your name. Now, here's one of the things, one of the misconceptions about these credit reporting agencies. When you call and you ask for a guy by a certain name, that's not his real name. It's fake. Just like wrestling. I mean, the physical part of wrestling is fake, but all the drama behind it is fake. The names are fake. Most of the characters are fake. Just like the characters in the credit reporting companies. They're fake. They're people that don't exist. I mean, I'm sure there's a person with that name somewhere, but that's not the person calling you. I don't know why they do it, but they do it. Probably as a way so they can go out and say anything they want, and, you never really know who you're talking to. So when you ask typically for a copy of your original signed contract, they have 10 business days. It's approximately 2 weeks to get it to you via the mail. When they say they're going to do it over the internet, you can refuse. It pisses them off because they know that you know the legalities of the law. And in certain states, like I think California, they can't call you past 9 o'clock at night. They can't call your employer. They can't show up at your work. They can make all the claims they want to make. I've had wild claims. How I'm going to get my wages garnished. I'm going to get a 1099-C from the U.S. Treasury or, not the U.S. Treasury, but the IRS. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And nothing's happened. Bottom line is it's not even on my credit. And I told them, I said, if you asked me nicely and you went to work with me, I said, I could have tried to do something to help you, but when you're financially strapped and you have other bills to pay and your life goes on, because it will go on, whether you have a house, whether you have a car, whether you have children, whether you have older adults in the house, whatever the case may be, whatever it is you need to spend your money on every month to live, these people are incredulous. They don't care if you're living in the street. They don't care if you're impoverished and poor, as long as they can get your money and make you feel a certain way. The only way to stand up to these people is to do your research, know the laws in your state, what you can and cannot do as a consumer, and don't let these people push you down. Don't let these people lead you down the rabbit hole, and don't let these people lie to you, because that's the biggest thing they do is they lie. It's almost like they're trained to lie. And when they find out that you can and will fight and that you know your rights as a consumer, that sometimes leads to a lot of problems. They don't like it, but it is what it is. That's why I titled this Schemers, Scammers, and Scumbags. Because there's a lot of predatory companies out there that will stop at nothing to separate you from your hard-earned money. I don't agree with it, but that's the nature of the beast and the society that we live in today, currently. People think that they can go ahead and call you up and treat you a certain way. What I would suggest you never do is pay any kind of a credit collection company unless it's reputable and they are actually going to help you. Because most people will take your money. They won't report it to your TRW or your credit reporting agency. They won't give you a receipt. And after you thought you paid the loan, it'll still show negatively on your credit. And instead of it being time of statutes, like statute of limitation might be 5 years, now when you go to pay that loan, it goes extended for another 7 years. Shows back up on your credit, and it makes your credit take a hit negatively. So basically, do your research, find out what you can and can't do in your state, your prospective state where you live, whether they can take you to court or not take you to court. Basically, what I'm telling you is knowledge is power. That's the key to your success in dealing with these predatory credit agencies. So with that being said, everyone, this is Lou Stefano, and this is the Salty Rant Live. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. We will get salty again. Thank you.